Welcome back to Real America. Thank you for sticking with us. Let's head to Michigan now, where Democrat Governor Gretchen Whitmer just loves to implement those draconian-style lockdowns, right? Well, guess what? Michigan GOP state lawmakers are now asking for her to be impeached. This comes as Governor Whitmer implements new coronavirus restrictions, and Michigan folks feel that she just continues to violate their constitutional rights while she even breaks her own lockdown rules. We'll have more on that later. Republican Michigan House Representative Matt Maddock tweeting out, "Today, myself and a growing list of Michigan legislators have decided that Governor Whitmer has crossed the line and will be calling for impeachment hearings. The list of violations is long and the call is overdue." I would agree with you. Let's head out to the Golden State now. California's Governor Gavin Newsom apologizing this week for being one of the biggest hypocrites in his state after he went against the California guidelines he set when he went to dinner with several people from multiple households. No, Newsom, that's against your own rules. The governor attended a restaurant. He went to the French Laundry up in Napa Valley. Heck of a nice restaurant. Pretty pricey, too. He released an apology, though, so it's okay, on the same day that he also released reopening plans for the state of California under his new guidelines. Well, they're not really reopening, because for 28 counties, he put stricter lockdowns in place. Here's what he said, though. "I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach and not practice. And I've done my best to do that. We're all human. We all fall short sometimes." As of today, nearly 94% of Californians are under those guidelines and have returned to what they call the purple tier in the Golden State. You can look at the map here. Now, Newsom and his wife are also seen attending a birthday party for one of his political advisors, who is a registered lobbyist. This all happened again at the French Laundry. This happened on November 6th. But that's not the first time that the good old governor of California has broken his own rules while he demands that the nearly 40 million citizens of that state adhere to them. To discuss more about the governor's hypocrisy and his unconstitutional lockdown orders, I'm now joined by California State Assemblyman James Gallagher to break this down. James, I understand you're very vocal about the governor's rules and why they are so unconstitutional. Fill us in on what's going on in your state right now, because I read an article about the judge last week on Friday or Saturday just ruling that what he has done to your state is unconstitutional.
Well, it's truly been unbelievable out here in California. We had a governor that, continues to actually usurp legislative powers. And that's where our lawsuit came in. Myself and Assemblyman Kevin Kiley brought a lawsuit saying, hey, this is unconstitutional. You cannot make law. That's up to the people's representatives in the state of California. And last week, a judge ruled just that. It's unconstitutional and put the handcuffs on him from doing that again. Now we're dealing with these lockdown orders. And I got to tell you, it's just been a shifting myriad of rules. We've gone through, I think, now 4 different iterations of rules here in California that, as you pointed out, the governor wants us all to abide by, but he doesn't abide by himself. And now many of my counties have been moved back to what they call the purple tier, which in effect, all it does is it shuts down small business, churches, and schools. None of those have been linked to a rise in cases, but obviously very impactful to my constituents. Many small businesses who are struggling to survive through this pandemic. It's been very frustrating. And so many of them have just said, we're opening, we're going to stay open. These rules don't make sense for us to abide by. And the real trick here is, hey, let's do everything. We live in a free society, and people need to be able to continue to live in freedom, practice the best practices to help reduce spread. But these arbitrary mandates, these lockdowns, it's not how we do things here in America.
No, I agree with you, James. And I don't want to press anyone to get in trouble with the law, but I firmly agree with you. And man, I'll tell you, if I owned a small business and one side of my family grew up running and owning small businesses, I would stay open. I would reopen. I would defy the orders, and I would say, I have to put food on the table for my family. I'm reopening. If you're worried about getting sick, don't come into my business. How about that? Whatever happened to that?
In a free society, we learn to live with and figure out how we're going to deal with risk. That happens across the board. And it just seems like all of a sudden with this one epidemic, that's all been thrown out the door. And that's been really my concern since the beginning of this. Myself and many other legislators have been challenging the governor's overreach of power. And essentially what we're saying is that, look, in America, people should be able to make decisions about how they want to live their lives. They should be able to freely exercise their faith. These are all fundamental cornerstones of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. Yes, we need to keep people safe. We need to focus on protecting the most vulnerable, our senior facilities, but we don't need to shut down schools, for instance. Our children are languishing out here. In one of my counties, I have a 60% increase in the amount of youth using mental health services. We've seen depression, child abuse rise.
Right.
And these shutdowns, there's no evidence that they actually reduce cases. There's no evidence that they actually...
The study the other week says 85 or 89% of all the new cases, people said they wore masks, they did social distancing, and they still got it. 80-some% of all new cases, they're doing the social distancing, they're wearing the mask, and they still got COVID. And I agree with you. There's no reason that if the masks work and distancing work, why can't everyone reopen? And then if you're in that category of somebody susceptible because of your age or a previous health condition, you should stay locked down. But the rest of the country, and especially your state, California, the 5th largest economy in the world, needs to reopen. Right. I read an article, and tell me this is right. 30,000 restaurants may close down permanently in the Golden State because of this lockdown this year. Is that the right number I heard?
Yes, that's what we're looking at. I mean, we are seeing small business get decimated here in California. And here's where it's going to come home for all these liberal legislators and the governor is the revenue that comes into government's coffers is going to be substantially down. We are looking at maybe a $50 billion deficit here in California. But look, not to mention all these small businesses, people's dreams. They've worked hard to build these businesses only to be arbitrarily shut down. I mean, there should be a difference between how a free society like the United States of America deals with this pandemic and how China deals with this pandemic.
Well, Newsom will just raise taxes. He'll just raise taxes.
Well, of course. I mean, that will probably be the answer from my Democratic colleagues is that we just need to raise taxes.
I heard him say it earlier this year, that it would raise taxes on certain income level and then make it retroactive for 20 to get more money in the coffers to make up for no taxes coming in from the businesses he keeps shut down.
Right. Well, and in fact, the people have rejected it, actually. The governor supported a measure that was on the ballot this November to increase all of our property taxes here in California. It would have been another hit to small business, so many others. It was rejected by the voters, went down in flames. You would think these guys would understand that what they are doing is not working. We have the highest poverty rate in the nation, highest homeless rate in the nation. Our state is literally burning down because we failed to do anything on forestry management. And it all goes back to Democratic policies that have been enacted here in California.
I'm sorry, but this arrogant, pompous person, your governor, spends the summer in Montana, a state that didn't do crazy lockdowns, with his family, sends his kids back to school, is eating out at the French Laundry, which costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars just for a couple people. He's doing all the things that he's making 39 point whatever million people tell you can't do this. You can't do those. Yet he's breaking all those rules. We've got video and pics of no masks on. Again, his kids are back in private school, which I'm sure is pretty pricey too, that he can afford, eating these dinners, taking these vacations, when you had just said people are struggling to make ends meet, their businesses, their livelihoods, the blood, sweat, and tears they have fought so hard for, where they opened a business a year ago or 30 years ago, is going down the tubes thanks to this governor. I just don't understand his mindset. And of course, you guys have your hands tied. How much control do you have left in Sacramento? 20%?
We are in the minority, and the hypocrisy of this is just infuriating. But you know what, man? I think more and more people are waking up to it.
I hope so.
These Democratic policies, some people are more equal than others. And it seems like Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom, their true colors are showing. They want everyone else to follow these rules that they themselves do not follow. And more people, even here in California, in a blue state, are waking up to it. And we are hopeful that we as Republicans and freedom-loving people in California can start saying, hey, we need to ensure that this remains the United States of America, that it's one nation under God, under the rule of law, and that we can't allow these kind of big government hypocrisy to take over in our country.
You're supposed to be entitled to the right for the pursuit of happiness. You're not guaranteed the happiness, but you're supposed to be allowed the pursuit. If you can't open your business and pursue it because the government tells you can't, he is, again, infringing on your constitutional rights. James, before I go, I got to throw this out there. How's the recall going? I know there's a big recall effort going for Newsom.
The recall is gaining a lot of momentum. I think there's somewhere over 300,000 signatures that have actually been collected at this point. And like I said, this hypocrisy that people are waking up to, more and more people are signing on to that petition. And there's actually we think that there's momentum to actually get that recall initiated here in California. We'll see what happens, but there's definitely a lot of people working on that front and more people signing on every day.
Well, James, I'll tell you what, it needs to be a bipartisan issue because Democrats own businesses too, independents, libertarians. This needs to be anybody that lives in California that is sick and tired of losing their livelihood needs to stand up and step up, sign that petition, and get that man recalled before, well, I would say before he ruins the Golden State, but it appears things have already kind of going that way. Maybe we can switch the tide.
Right. Freedom-loving Americans need to rise up.
You got it. James Gallagher, 3rd District, California Assemblyman, thank you so much for giving us your time here on Real America, man. We really appreciate it. You stay safe.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep. When we return, social media heads Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey testified today before a Senate commission. We'll break down the latest in the big tech's conservative censorship. Don't go away.